Remember when you first started playing League of Legends and you would just scroll through the list of champions, investigating each one for potential eye-catching features that would make a player want to summon them to the Rift? I don't know about you, but most of the champions that I gravitated towards were the various monsters or beasts on the roster. Regardless of what I knew them to play as in-game, beings like Maokai and Kha'Zix I found to be incredibly appealing as they displayed all of their personality from head to toe through core aspects of their design, whereas I don't think the same can be said for most of the humanoid characters in the game. This isn't to say that you need to oversaturate your game with creatures and beasts in order to accomplish diversity in the design direction, but it's hard to ignore how difficult it has become for Riot Games to push a new human champion when it needs to stand out from the rest of the roster in much more profound ways. This concept has proved to be a sticking point for many players since, over the past 4 years, there has only been a singular attempt at providing League of Legends with a monstrous champion. Surprisingly though, with the reveal trailer launching for the new champion Naafiri, the player base can rejoice in knowing that they have a truly unique character on their hands to play as in-game. Here I'll be taking a look at how this new upcoming champion release could be a shining light for the future design direction of League of Legends, and why non-human champions could save the game entirely going forward. If you enjoy this video, please subscribe, as over 98% of you who watch aren't subscribed to the channel. The series of Darken contains some truly potent champion designs across the board. All of them are represented by the weapons they wielded in life, and were later imprisoned by the aspect of Twilight, Zoe. The weapons are still very much alive though, and cling to life through manifesting in a host body. Take Aatrox with the Darkened Blade, or Kayn with the Darkened Scythe as examples. The complexity in character design comes from the fact that not only are you designing a human-based character, you have plenty of opportunities to implement more beastly highlights, or a deeper and more under-the-surface backstory than initially given off. Legends of Runeterra did a phenomenal job in late 2022 of adding a whole cast of Darken that exist across the world into the game, providing a whole new way for the fans to understand the concept of the Darken and their role on Runeterra. Whether it was Jural, the Darkened Shield, or Naganeka, the Darkened Ballista, the emphasis on the storage of an eldritch or generally all-powerful being inside of the equipment was as easy to understand as it has ever been. And it's seriously cool to see just what kind of power these once ascended members of Shurima had. Naganeka's origin specifically is even a little comical to theorize, as many believe this abomination was conceptualized from a chicken coming in contact with a ballista containing the Darken within it. Even with this less than serious approach, it emphasizes the incredible amount of possibilities there are to cover different bases with the Darkened weapons, which leads to the reveal of Naafiri. Surprisingly being the only Darkened release since 2017, the concept stays strong as the idea of a pack of wolves being corrupted by an elusive dagger is incredibly gripping, especially when given a reveal trailer of this quality. There's so much character displayed in a matter of 2 minutes without even showing much of the actual champion itself. Characters like Aphelios or Yone didn't need to show anything other than their getups to give off the vibe that they were a bit on the edgier side, regardless of what their backstories entail. I'm not even sure if any of us have a true grasp as to what this Darkened beast is capable of, other than knowing their intention to fight as a pack. What's so effective about these monster-style champions as opposed to a typical human character is that the image and stature they possess just from being an unfamiliar entity carry its ability to be digested by the player. The difference between a character like Naafiri and one like Yone is that you need the context of Yone's story in order for him to not feel like just another swordsman, whereas the entire concept of Naafiri's design as a corrupted beast is enough to get the player hooked right away. You feel like you're still able to embrace the unique nature of the character's design without needing to understand its backstory, unlike some of the other more subtle rehashes of fantasy classes attached to another more generic human persona. Though if the player wishes to delve a little deeper into the interactions between Naafiri and other Darken like Varus, they can provide themselves a little more context as to just what this champion's role in the grand scheme of the Darken storyline was.
Hounds, Naafiri. You make me grateful for my vessels. Naafiri, you claimed unity is power. Power within me and against our enemies. Let us see together.
One trait to these voice lines is that they really put an emphasis on how some of, if not all of the Darkened weapons are aware of each other's existence, and are making an effort to unite once again and assume their devastating power. There have been previous attempts at monster-type champions, as alluded to earlier with the release of Bel'Veth in the middle of 2022. But there isn't enough commitment to the abomination side of the design to make me feel like it's a champion truly deserving of being compared to some of the most grisly monsters we had gotten in years once upon a time. The Void was even one of the go-to regions for Riot to be able to embrace an all-powerful entity in a champion-sized package. Examples like Rek'Sai and the previously mentioned Kha'Zix were extremely effective in getting across just how potent of a threat they were. When put into lore context, Bel'Veth makes sense in its own unique way, but I would expect the pinnacle of the Void to culminate into a bit more outwardly terrifying of a monster. Naafiri isn't even one of the leading contributors in the war efforts her story is based around, but her trailer and character delivery seem to leave Bel'Veth in the dust. Here's our first real non-human-like champion in what feels like forever, and as much of a no-brainer as it has felt like to the community, I do have to give it up to Riot Games for finally delivering on an aspect to League of Legends that contributed so heavily into what made many players engage with the game in the first place. If you enjoyed this video, please check out the rest of my channel, and consider leaving a like and subscribing, as it really helps me out. Thank you.